I am absolutely an amateur gardener. I don't have any fancy degrees. I just do what I love. How many people grow dahlias? Okay, they really are stunning plants. I have some people from my classes who didn't know a tulip from a dandelion. And don't be tempted to water. Would you water a bag of potatoes? No. I teach what I call straight gardening. What can you do to make your garden better?
When someone says, "What do you do?" Well, it's a long story. When I first started my career, I called myself a tree farmer, but in the last 25 years, I call myself a tree breeder. It's so important to have a diverse urban forest. I don't think there's anyone who has tested as many trees as I have for the prairie region. It's like building a skyscraper. You start from the bottom and you slowly build up, and eventually you're at the pinnacle.
The best way to learn how to grow a plant is to kill it. Just don't go ahead and kill one, but when they die, the plant didn't like where you put it, so therefore you find out where to grow. Oh, the first dahlia, oh my God. I was born in Bristol in '37, and almost immediately the war started. My father was gone. He didn't go to war, but he worked every night, and we were a major attack point for the enemy. But meanwhile, my mother, she just carried on as usual, didn't get upset about anything. We went to shelters at night, and in the daytime she grew vegetables. And she also grew flowers and fruit trees. All this gardening was starting at the beginning of the war, and I'm 2 years old. We grew carrots, and my mother was teaching me to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth one you pulled out. She just learned as she went along, and that's exactly what I've done. When I was 3 years old, apparently I ran away at a picnic and crawled under a barbed wire fence because I saw cowslips growing in a field. And in my boarding school, I got into terrible trouble because I climbed down a bank to pick some primroses. The nuns would give me a punishment to go work in the garden. This was no punishment. Anything that's beautiful, it's always been a lovely lure for me. This is comfrey. Chop it up in a 5-gallon bucket and then fill it full of water. And within 2 weeks, you've got fertilizer, smelly fertilizer. It was a huge change going back to live near the city. So I bought a ticket to come to Canada. And as I got so keen, people said, you should speak at a horticulture society. So I became president. You should speak at Seneca or Humber or even U of T. So I've taught at George Brown and the Toronto Botanic Garden for years. I teach pure, unadulterated gardening. A lot of the stuff that I talked about was what you can do. Flowers are wonderful, but they're gone in a week or two. So what have you got left? The colored conifers come in really useful. Not just the little round balls, but the different shapes. Really beautiful blue spruces. Plus ordinary shrubs that have lovely color. I got yellow ones and orange ones and brilliant red ones. They keep their color until around December, and they are gorgeous. They're one of the biggest assets to the garden. Then you add the color, then you add the flowers, and you've really got something there. I went through my various phases of love of different plants. First, I went mad on irises. At one point, I had 400 roses. It just got boring doing the same thing all the time. Roses are the most beautiful flower on an ugly plant. But it's fun always going from one passion to another. It's been that lure of having flowers and plants, seeing them and enjoying them.
The pioneers went to the free nursery. They went to the river edges and got elm and got maple and got green ash and planted in abundance because they knew how important protection was. So many small communities on the prairies are losing their trees. They're not large enough to have a parks department. That's where I came to realize someone had to go out there and find trees that were more suitable to this concrete jungle that we've created. We grow mainly American elm, the premier tree for the prairies. I start from seed, plant it all out, and then evaluate it. And then the experiment really begins. I'm not using GMOs, just genetics that are within the genuses and do traditional crossing. As a young child, when I planted a garden with my parents, it seemed to take forever for those cucumbers to become cucumbers. Trees are always part of my life. In horticulture, we know it's going to take time. With trees, it's between 15 and 30 years. You have to be in the game for the long term to really understand how you're going to get the ideal tree. Green ash, Patmore, Norway maple, Trojan endeavor elm, bur oak, trembling aspen, crab apples, ornamental crab apples, Freeman maple, variegated swamp white oak. It's all about numbers. You just have to keep trying until you find one that may be prairie hardy. Is that the leaf color you want? Is that the tree form you want? Does it grow slowly? Does it grow fast? Are they hardy? You try and narrow it down. The introduction of Dutch elm disease in 1975 changed everything for the prairies. It spread in Manitoba and parts of Saskatchewan. We're still losing them. I decided, I've got to change that. How do we contain this disease? I started working on elm in about 1982 or so. There was an opportunity to create something similar to the American elm that is resistant to Dutch elm disease. So you were saying that this is Lighthouse.
We've since decided to develop it and named it.
One nurseryman told me one time, you're as good as your last introduction. So you can never kind of sit on your laurels. We selected 5, and that was the best of the group. It's probably considered the hardiest Norway maple, but that's what you see for hardiness. It's up and down.
Yeah.
All the work was done in Kelowna, so I had a population of about 7,000. I selected 75, got down to 15. And you liked that one.
Yeah.
That was the one you liked.
I kind of like that form.
Yeah.
And then here,
Yeah, that's a hybrid between American elm and Japanese elm. And so it's actually a triploid. No seed on it, but it still has a lot of American traits. You can bud it on American elm. You're not putting on boulevards. I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, there has to be, we want diversity. 1801, 1708, and 1709, they've shown as high as about 60% resistance, and we'll see if they'll recover. So I've inoculated these for 2 years in Manitoba. Time will tell, but I think you need to test for Dutch elm disease and have a cultivar of American for the future. I think next year will tell us the story of how resistant these are.
I've reached the point where the garden is full. I can't go anywhere else, so I have to look for plants that will fit in what I've got. You can use plants that are strictly vertical and avoid them getting too wide. And there are many small conifers that are very narrow. It was bit by bit by bit. That's how I learned gardening. And that is what I talk to people about.
When you spoke about the magnolia,
There's one thing in life that you're in control of, pruning. You can do what you want. When I teach, the number one subject is pruning. People just don't understand when to do it, how to do it, how much to do it. Japanese maples are beautiful, but not if they're left alone. They need to be pruned. When I prune, is it going to hurt the plant? No. Then another client, I went and she said, what do we do with this? And I said, oh, I'll show you. That. I sort of crossed my fingers that it would work. It did. So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like we're ready for a cup of tea or coffee, all right? With any lecture, they pick up something, and it's amazing how far they come.
Geneticists at the U.S. National Arboretum came up with an excellent rule, the 10-20-30 rule. don't plant more than 30% of the trees from the same family. And within that group, don't plant more than 20% in the same genus. And then in that group, don't plant more than 10% in the species. With that rule, then you have some guideline of how you can manage your whole forest and how you can diversify it. You want to diversify because disease could wipe out every tree in the whole community. Detroit, Chicago, Minneapolis, they lost all their elms, so what did they do? They planted ash. And then they lost all the ash. The cost is just phenomenal. It's a challenge, and time is just part of the space that I'm working in. This tree is numbered 1709. We recently named it Endeavor. It's one of a kind in the world. It's a cross between American and Japanese elm. 17 meaning the year it was selected, and 9 was the 9th tree in that year. We're inoculating 15 of my elm selections. I checked some of them, and we realized 1709 was a triploid. So it means it was a cross between American and Japanese. This is suspended Dutch elm disease. The province of Manitoba have supplied this. So we want 2 drops. 1, 2. We also have 1,200 elm trees on long-term evaluation. Because things can change. You never can be satisfied that it's a perfect tree because there's no perfect tree. There's always factors, whether it's natural or human-made. Like the pH is around 8 here. You know, it should be growing in about a 6.5. One way you can really tell the difference is that there's hardly any spines. I made a cross between Japanese elm and Siberian elm. And it's shown to be resistant to Dutch elm disease. Developing any tree that has high resistance is very satisfying. But I know in the long term, the disease is going to change and trees may become more susceptible.
This is the time of year where I like to make more of my summer plants. We keep the greenhouse frost-free. This is a Tradescantia that is not winter hardy, and I really like to use it in containers. This Tradescantia is a pretty interesting plant because it is an American plant, and it was discovered by the Tradescantia brothers who were sent out from an English king in the, I think, 16th century. And these cuttings will root in a glass of water in not much more than a week. You can pot them up and keep them as a house plant warm for the rest of the winter, and you'll have nice plants. So that's not bad. But actually, I found it works better if you take your succulent cuttings and leave them overnight. You know, I have a go at most things because I love propagating. Camellias are one of my big favorite plants. Coming from Coming from the south of England, my mother used to have these in bloom after Christmas, and they were fabulous. I mean, colors just you wouldn't believe. No matter what, gardening is never boring, never dull, and it constantly surprises you. So I'll never give up.
People have asked, what is your legacy? Legacy, that was never my intention. One specific tree is good for a moment in time. I know there will have to be improvements in the future. They'll have to come back and look at what I've done. I've moved elm resistance further down the line, and I've increased the number of trees available, so that opens up a lot of possibilities. Sometimes you may not get the breakthrough, but you'll get advances, and you have to be satisfied with that. If there's a legacy, it's a legacy of diversity. And that is the groundwork for the future.